Hi, I'm Zach.
And I'm Brandon.
And we're
The
Bourbon Bros.
All right, Zach, you got a lineup of hitters here. What are we doing?
So we have all our most aged bourbons. This is something that we've wanted to do for a little while. It's going to be really enjoyable. I'm sure we're going to love all of them. But we're going to see which one out of these four we like the most.
All right, let's dive in. It looks like we're starting with Knob Creek 12, one of my favorites.
One of your favorites for sure.
May I?
Please. It is something that we've put into a lot of different kind of competitive videos so far. It's a really nice bottle. Brandon always speaks really highly of it. I feel like I have an up and down opinion about it.
Yeah, I think honestly, if Ben Holiday didn't exist, this would probably be my daily sipper. So we got a 12-year age statement on this guy. Our youngest bourbon.
Yes.
That's just God. That's just every time, always good. That's the beauty of a small batch though, right? Is you got that level of consistency that you don't get in a single barrel.
Yep.
That smells exactly like I remember.
Yeah.
That smells like home.
Yeah. I'm excited because I think they're all gonna have wonderful smells to them. This one's giving me a very sweet smell. I was thinking, since they're all so aged, like it's gonna be oak. This is delivering tons of sweetness to it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So I'm getting a lot of toasted oak for sure. That's to be expected with anything that's been sitting in a barrel for a while. Mm-hmm. But I also get, like you said, a really nice sweetness, almost like a candied sweetness.
Yeah.
Yep. How was that first sip?
First sip, really good. That sweetness comes through. I'm getting a nice caramel in there. I'm getting some good vanilla, but that oak appears in the taste that I don't get in the nose.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think this is oak forward for sure. Doesn't lean heavy into any sort of bitter notes for me, but the sweetness is not as prevalent for me on the palate as it was on the nose.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned that small batch. I think that's what kind of maybe helps with that bitterness that you would typically feel like you would get from the oak. Yeah,
yep, and the fact that they proof it down to 100 probably helps as well.
Yeah.
They take a little bit of that oakiness off the top by cutting it with some water.
Right. This one too also has a pretty good lather, I feel like, on that backside.
I hope that they all have a nice finish, quite frankly. And we've had some of the bottles in this lineup, and this one never fails me in terms of palate. What do you think? Does it fare more favorably for you today than it has in the past?
I think having it, because typically in the past I've had other ones along with it, and it's been very compare. This is a competition, and having it for the first one today, it's blissful.
Yeah, it's a great way to start. We've talked about this in the past, how it's cool when a bourbon can deliver and doesn't need the proof to pack the punch.
Yeah.
And I love that this is 100 proof that's just giving you a ton of flavor. It's very rounded.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
Well, let's finish these up and hop into the next one.
That Knob Creek 12-year was absolutely delightful.
Yeah, great start.
Great start. We're on to our second. It's another 12-year, 1792.
Yeah. Best bourbon in the world.
Best bourbon in the world. I read that. It's on an article.
This has always done well by us in the past. So this is a treat.
Let's take a peek. Obviously, the color's going to be good. It's 12 years.
Yeah, everything's going to come in with some kind of dark. This one's kind of got a nice little golden hue to it. Usually I'm kind of expecting a little more amber out of my age, but this kind of got a nice golden, bronzy kind of color.
What are you getting on that smell?
It's definitely sweet. Definitely sweeter than the last one. Sharp sweetness.
Sharp sweetness. Yep, like cotton candy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or just some kind of confectionery sweetness.
Right.
I also pick up like a chocolate kind of cocoa scent on the nose.
Okay.
Dark chocolate, like a bitter chocolate.
Yeah. And I'm getting that little bit of char on the nose.
Yep.
And I'm a big person that loves char. I like it in the smell, I like it in the taste, all the way through. So
yeah, well, if you like it in the taste, you're gonna enjoy that first sip.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's got to go on. I don't know if it's the best bourbon in the world, but I understand why they said that.
Yeah, and I don't want to say I agree, but it's one of my favorites that we've had back here. Mm-hmm. And compared to that Knob Creek, I think I like this one a little bit more.
Yeah, this is a better bourbon than the last one we had. Mm-hmm. Just because I feel like it's leaning heavy on all of its notes. Like everything is distinctly coming through in like equal portions.
In equal portions. Yeah. That's how I would. It was very well rounded with the char and the sweetness, but then also the finish is great.
Oh, the finishes. That's one of the best finishes on a bourbon I think I've ever had.
Yeah.
Any notes you're picking up?
So that char comes through obviously very, very strong. I would say this is more of almost like a brown sugar sweetness to me.
Totally.
And I'm getting that right away. I'm picking up that char mostly on the backside to mid palate. And I'm not getting any spice. I'm not really getting any like spice or, it's very smooth actually.
So it's super smooth. I think it's proofed down a little bit. I believe, so just shy of 100. So it's a 97 proof. Again, another bottle that doesn't necessarily need it. But I do actually pick up some rye spice for sure. And I think that's pretty classic, indicative of the 1792 mash bill.
Yeah.
But no like distinctive peppery note on the tongue. What I really, really love, and you mentioned this before, is that brown sugar. And I'm getting that all the way through. That's front to back finish. It almost rounds into like a buttery.
Very much, yeah.
If you could picture like a butter and brown sugar. What do you make out of that? Toffee, right?
You can make toffee out of that.
Yeah.
It's brittle, maybe.
Brittle. There you go. Thank you. That's what I'm picturing. Put it in a pan, butter, brown sugar. You're getting that in the finish.
Yeah. So Brandon bought this bottle. Where'd you end up getting this one?
Yeah. So kind of a cool story behind this bottle. At least I think it's kind of cool. When we were first kicking off the channel and I was out there just trying to find bottles, I found this one at a place called Cellars in Walworth, Wisconsin. And I remember that because I was in there and the owner walked up to me and he was super helpful, super polite, and we started talking like, hey, we just kicked off this new bourbon channel. And I like to mention that to people because some people might want the exposure, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, well, you know what? I just got my delivery from said distributor today, and he's like, come with me. And he invited me into his back room, right? And he's like, here, I just got this one today. And I was a little disappointed because the bottle was like kind of chipped a little bit and like the label was a little frayed.
Sure.
But I knew I loved 1792. I had the bottle in bond, and the full proof at that point blew my mind. So I was like, all right, 12 years, can't go wrong, right?
Yeah.
And he gave me that one as well as a single barrel in the same day.
Oh, really?
There you go. And it was like $80 bottle, which I thought was pretty reasonable for a 12-year.
Yeah.
I had no idea that this was going to end up being,
one of the
world's best whiskey, and almost impossible to find at this point. I've never seen another one out in the wild. So
right, maybe he gave you a little discount for the chipping.
Yeah, maybe. So a little backstory on the 92 there.
Perfect. Oh, we'll finish this one up and we'll head on to our next one.
All right, let's do it. All right, we're moving on to number 3. We've got the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, 13 and 7 months old.
13 and 7 months old.
So almost 13 and a half, somewhere in that range.
Right, and this one compared to the last ones is a lot higher proof.
Yeah, significant jump in proof for sure. 133 proof. This is the C923.
923, is that right?
Yep.
Yep, that is correct.
Which has gotten all sorts of notoriety over the last 6 to 9 months.
Yeah, it's at some point in time, especially when it first came out, a lot of people were making videos. This might be the best of the year.
Best of the year, yeah. And Minnick graded it high, and we've really liked it as well. We haven't drank a ton of it, but
no, it's hot.
It's been really good. So let's pour it up.
Let's give it a little pour. So not a huge story of where we got this one, but I was living up in Hartford, Wisconsin. Tiny little town. They have a big festival of foods there. It's pretty new, and they actually had multiple bottles of this. I think this would have been their first time maybe putting some nice, I don't know if this is considered allocation or not.
It's allocated, yeah, because it's a limited release.
But like they had like 8 bottles out, just like as a normal bottle.
It's a funny story about that. Bourbon Babe, my wife, kind of acts like our spotter on some of the social media. So she's on all the Facebook pages locally to kind of know when allocation drops are, special bottles, single barrels, things like that. And as soon as Zach let me know, we went and posted on the page.
Yeah.
And literally before like half day, 6 hours, within 6 hours, all 8 of those bottles were gone.
gone.
Which, you know what, you got to pay it forward because there's been plenty of times that people have given us some insight to go find a nice bottle.
Yeah, well, that's the point of the community, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. This one's definitely...
It's dark.
Dark.
She's dark. Yeah, that's amber, man. That's sitting right firmly square in that amber.
And this is a barrel strength, so it's going to be hotter, 133 proof. This one has an interesting nose.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's got all those dark notes to me. Like that's just heavy and dark.
Yeah. On my early journey into bourbon, Elijah Craig was like my go-to. Like I really was like, wow, Elijah Craig's great. Like I love Elijah Craig, and now it's kind of blended in with a lot of other really good ones that I've tried now.
Pretty consistently good though.
Pretty consistently good.
Yeah. And I think like, hey, if you got to pick one line of bottles to represent your distillery, I would think that Heaven Hill picks Elijah Craig to go into battle. That's foreshadowing because we've got our gladiator match coming up here. But I really do. I think if you're Heaven Hill, you probably pick Elijah Craig to be your representative for the distillery.
My first initial thought of this one, and from what I can also recall, like this is just, it brings heat, but it doesn't taste like a 133 proof. It's not as high. It maybe makes me think of like a 117, 114, somewhere in there, and and it delivers cinnamon hard.
Yeah. That's all the cinnamon. That's a cinnamon bomb right there. That's hot, but it's hot in like the right ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What I'll say about this is the finish is just hugging me. It's just we're nestled up together. We're snuggle bugging. I really enjoy that. Mm. That's something you can't not get without some proof.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? It feels like it's clinging on. You know, it's just kind of hanging out in the pipes.
Mm-hmm.
Cleaning the pipes.
Cleaning the pipes.
It's a pipe cleaner.
It's a pipe cleaner. Brandon's something.
But this is great, man. This is super good. I'm getting, like I said, those dark notes on the nose transferring into the palate for me.
Yeah, I think
brown sugar.
So yeah, I'm getting brown sugar. I'm also like, I could even agree with somebody if they said red hot, like gum or like a little, like those little red candies.
And like the spice on the tongue from the red hot, totally.
Yeah, because it lingers.
I'm right there with it. This thing hangs out for a while.
But compared to the last two bottles,
here's what I'll say. I think the 1792 has just got this really rounded, it punching in all the flavor profiles. Mm-hmm. This is hitting hard on that spice.
Yeah.
And not just because of the heat, but just because of the spice. Mm-hmm. But I think that this one really stands out with the finish.
Yeah. I think I like talking about that spice. I feel like I've evolved a little bit over our tasting time, and like I used to think, you used to call me a proof whore. Like we used to kind of be like, oh, we might be a proof whore, right?
I used to.
I still love.
You just said the 133 tastes like a 114, so I think the proof whore.
What I'm saying is, I used to just look and be like, okay, if it's a high proof, it's a single barrel, like it's gonna deliver tons of character, it's gonna deliver a nice hug and heat. But having the 12-year 1792 and the Knob Creek 12, like it. I just have appreciated that smoothness as well now. Like maybe this was just shocking to me at first, and so I was like, man, proof is really great.
Yeah.
But now I'm kind of more appreciating that smoothness of a bourbon that can also deliver that character.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. And I think that there's times for like an experience, right? Like sometimes you want like a hot whiskey.
Yeah.
You're just like, hey, man, I want to get warmed up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that igloo?
Yeah.
This would have been great for the igloo. But this is, again, and I want to be clear here. This is hot, but it doesn't burn. Mm-hmm. You know, I think there's a very distinct difference between heat and burning.
Yeah.
This is not like an uncomfortable heat. It's just warm.
Right. It's not like I'm tasting grains and alcohol, and like I'm trying, like I'm not having Everclear. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's not youthful and rough edges. This is still very rounded whiskey. It's just warm. I mean, you can't avoid that with 133 proof. But what I wanted to get back to, proof for, a very wise man once said to me, "You can't turn a hoe into a housewife." So.
What? What do you want me to say? I don't know what you want.
Should we get on to the next one?
Let's get on to the next one. All right, we're on to our final and last most aged bourbon.
Yeah, and so we just cracked this week for a Fresh Crack Friday. You haven't tasted it yet.
I haven't tasted. I'm very excited. This is the only one out of the 4 that I have not tasted yet. Pour it up. This is an 18-year Knob Creek. Obviously, you can see that. It's a low proof again. So this is another one of those. Well, I wouldn't say low proof, right? But it's lower than 133. It's 100 proof. It's an 100 proof bourbon. It lines up exactly with those 12 years that we have, but this one's 18 years, and it looks like syrup coming out of the bottle.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit thicker for sure, but it's the same juice in the 12. Just let it sit and rest and mature for another 6.
Yeah, real interesting. I'm curious to see at 18 years how much actual bourbon is in the barrel when they take it out. That would be interesting. Yeah. It'd be very, very condensed in there.
A lot less than when they started.
Holy cow.
It must be a Knob Creek thing here, because it definitely doesn't have that amber color I'd expect out of an 18. It's just like a really nice golden hue.
Sure.
What are you grabbing on the nose there?
This is, I don't want to be like, whoa, 18 years, best thing I ever had, but at the same time, this has got an interesting, like, very strong smell.
It's pungent. Yeah. There's a plume.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's heavy.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, it almost like I could drink it through my nose. Like, it's literally like, it's dense.
Yeah. You're kind of wading through a cloud of scent there.
There's a lot to take in.
What are you picking up? Any notes?
I'm thinking like, I'm picking up a really nice barrel smell, like a nice char. There's definitely going to be sweetness in this.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
I'm getting that toasted oak for sure. A lot of that, heavy on the oak.
So good.
But also getting like a really nice like nuttiness on the flavor.
Yeah. No. Butter, dude.
Yeah.
Like you were talking butter earlier.
Cashew is what I was gonna say.
Yeah. Like you mash up a bunch of them. Like this is, it's just like right now.
All right.
Like, no, it's just so, like, I feel like, you know how you usually think about finish and you're like, it's chewable, like, from mid-palate to back, and it lingers. Like, this, as soon as it hits your lips, it's like, it's like the finish from front to back.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Yep, I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's thick, it's chewy, it's oaky, but I really, really like that nuttiness that I'm picking up here. Not like a super distinct sweetness for me. Are you picking up anything jumping off sweetness-wise?
No, not like a sharp sweetness at all. If anything, it's a very matured sweet.
Yeah, it's like a subtle, kind of almost subdued. Like that's not the primary focus of this bourbon.
Right.
We want to taste oak. We want to taste layers.
I think that nuttiness is right on. But I'm getting that, and it's very creamy.
Very creamy.
All right, dude. Now, how would I compare these flavors to the rest of the bunch?
Yeah. I honestly think one of them stands out to me.
One of them?
Mm-hmm. Yep. One of the 4 stands out more than the others for
Okay.
me. But I think that this is great. This isn't the one that stands out, but I feel like we've waited too long to try this, quite frankly. It's delicious.
It's delicious. I'm glad that we did this, and it gave me a different mouthfeel than I've probably had with any other bourbon.
Sure.
But again, I would agree with you.
Describe that. Go into depth on that a little bit.
It's
Mouthfeel specifically.
It's silky.
Yeah. Great verb.
Yeah, it's very silky.
Not a verb. So we went from Knob Creek to Knob Creek, went through the whole journey. We went up the proof, back down. Actually,
we went from knob to knob.
We just kind of, that should be our name of the channel, I think.
Knob to knob.
2 knobs, yeah.
We're walking through the door. We got knob on one side, knob on the other side.
Yeah, so I mean, the Knob Creek 12 was delicious. Again, I think a perfect everyday drinker.
Yeah.
1792, I thought was just an experience.
Right.
Delivered all the way around.
Yeah.
This one, punch heavy. And this one, kind of its own category, but it just missed that little element for me that would have really made it the number one, the over the top.
Yeah. First thing I want to mention is obviously these three, the two knobs and the 1792, very similar proofs.
Same proof.
Same proof. Basically, the Elijah Craig, it had a high proof, so it gave a lot of different kind of a feel.
Sounds like you have a favorite.
So I have a favorite, and I don't know if this is would have been my favorite like a month ago or 2 months ago. But it's also interesting, and the reason we do these types of videos is because you don't normally get to taste all really good bourbons next to each other that are this aged and this kind of special or rare even.
I think it's good that you said that because these aren't the most accessible whiskeys. Like even the Knob Creek 12 is a hit or miss, right? Like every once in a while it's on the shelves here in Wisconsin, but I had to go down to Illinois to find that one.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's to be noted. These are not going to be everywhere, so it is kind of unique to line them all up in the same
and put them kind of almost against each other. But we're just trying to enjoy all of them for what they are. I would say my favorite out of the group, just because of my personal preference, and Brandon now knows.
Can I guess?
Yep. You know what it is?
This one?
Yeah, it's the 1792. 1792 has the most char. I think it was buttery, like Brandon explained. If I had to pick a second favorite, I would have picked the Elijah Craig. I really like a cinnamon. I like that heat. And I think maybe because we had three of the same and then one really different, maybe that's why that one stuck out so much to me as well.
Sure. So for me, flavor is really important, but I think more than anything that I've come to appreciate mouthfeel. Yeah. I think that's the one thing that I kind of lean more towards when I'm grading whiskey. So for me, my favorite of the bunch is also the 1792 12 because it had a great mouthfeel and it had all the other stuff.
Yeah. Very well-rounded.
Totally. Second favorite is actually the 18 because it was just so viscous. This was uniquely hot.
Yeah.
I thought this was uniquely chewy. Right?
Yeah.
I just thought it had just such a really viscous mouthfeel.
Yep.
Very oily. Okay, guys. If nothing else, we learned that Zach has agreed Knob Creek 12 is a damn good bourbon.
Yeah, and I feel like we've talked about the. Yeah. Okay. First of all, yes, I have looked at this one as maybe it's something I really don't like and other people like. But since we started with it today, it really kind of grew on me a little bit.
Yeah. It was a great place to start, and it just went from good to better and best.
Yeah.
It just went up from there. It was good. There's nothing bad to be said about any of these.
Nothing bad to be said about any of them. I feel great about all of them, and I'm glad that we did these ones together.
Yeah, great choice. Well, I'm still Brandon.
And I'm still Zach.
And we're the Bourbon Bros.